Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. I promised a while back that I would be looking at more SpongeBob stuff in the future, and I think it's time to live up to that promise. So, for this occasion, let's talk about a weird foreign SpongeBob bootleg movie. Back when I did my Summer of SpongeBob videos, I talked about a ton of different SpongeBob fan projects, and needless to say, there are still a lot of them that I didn't mention in that initial review. Looking back on that video, the one that I still find very fascinating is that Day in the Life of SpongeBob SquarePants movie that still seems to be floating around in lost media purgatory somewhere. And as it turns out, there are plenty of bootleg SpongeBob movies and other such media made without Nickelodeon's permission. Like this weird SpongeBob Beyond fan series that's been going on for some time now, and from what I gather, I believe it's made by some Russian production company, I think. But we're not going to be looking at that for today's video. Now, I've looked at foreign films before, most of them coming from companies like Dingo Pictures and Video Brinquedo. But those films were at least dubbed for English-speaking viewers. They were dubbed very poorly, but they were still dubbed nonetheless. But for today's subject, we're looking at a film that's only subtitled. In the grand scheme of the ancient dub versus sub debate, there comes that rare example that shows sometimes watching a bad foreign movie with subtitles or dubbed in audio doesn't change the fact that it's still a bad movie. Case in point, SpongeBob in Tehran. Now, don't be fooled by the title. This isn't some weird YouTube parody animation made years ago, like that SpongeBob in China video. This was an officially released film. Granted, it was released straight to television in its nation of origin, Iran, but as you'll soon see with the caliber of animation we're in for, the fact that this came out in 2017 becomes a little more jarring. Though in fairness, this isn't the first time that this kind of thing has happened with SpongeBob. No, there's also the airing of the show in Persia, where they censor certain female characters like Sandy, and then you just get to weird stuff like this one commercial. There are just so many questions that need to be asked from that one clip alone. Like, why are those two characters together? Why is there a robot under the sea when she can't even take a simple walk in the rain without rusting? And, of course, the big question that we're all wondering, why can't touch this as the background music? There's no time to look at that. No. It's time to dive right into SpongeBob in Tehran.
این داستان آقای خرچنگ بدبخت شده.
Okay, just a few seconds in, and I am already lost. So not only did they nab a Nickelodeon property, but now they're also trying to use Disney's logo font. So what, did Disney try putting their label on this like they did with certain copies of Dexter's Lab Ego Trip? I have not been more pissed off by opening credits since Home Alone 4 and What's Up Balloon to the Rescue. Way to start off on the wrong foot, weird Iranian SpongeBob knockoff.
شهر بیکینی باتم که همیشه پر از شور و نشاط و البته الان موقع نهاره و همه اهالی شهر دارن از خوردن همبرگرای خرچنگی خوشمزه و مقوی که خریدن لذت میبرن.
Okay, first off, hello stolen footage from the first SpongeBob movie. God, Viacom gets on the case of us content creators for using footage for critique purposes, but this is allowed to fly? Secondly, the subtitles on this part say how great the food at the Krusty Krab is, and they show this by having a guy break away like a Mr. Potato Head after eating a Krabby Patty. Apparently the Krusty Krab has even worse health code violations than giving a burger with pickles to a guy who has an explosive allergy to them, like in SpongeBob 4D. Speaking of which, you probably noticed that this is a CG animated movie. I'm not sure why they went with CG, maybe it was cheaper, or maybe they were trying to ride on the hype of the CGI-driven SpongeBob content. I mean, this did come out a couple years after Sponge Out of Water, but yeah, I think it's pretty apparent to see that the animation here is awful. It's so awful, even SpongeBall Z is probably laughing at it. Anyway, what's the plot exactly? Well, just a typical day at the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob behind the grill and serving up the hungry customers. Patrick wakes up from under his rock, which is in the middle of the street for some reason, and he gets in the long line for the Krusty Krab as he talks to his hungry stomach. Whoa, my dude, hold on. Okay, we're going from 0 to 100 really quick on that one. Like, you're seeing this, right? SpongeBob walks into Mr. Krabs' office, says there's a problem, and then Mr. Krabs immediately pulls revolvers on him. And going by the subtitles, there's a lame joke added about guns being useless against SpongeBob, since he's already riddled with holes. Ha! Anyway, the two slide down into this secret underground lair, which is actually just stolen backgrounds from the first theatrical movie once again, and they discover the secret sauce is missing. And I'm assuming secret sauce is this movie's way of saying secret formula, I guess? I would say we've already seen this kind of thing in the show, but let's face it, the show's done it like 50 plus times at this point. Mr. Krabs locks up the store, and it's up to our four main regulars to sort out a solution. After some digging, Mr. Krabs finds a film reel that could possibly hold the answers. They play the film reel, which has one of those missing media error screens you see in Premiere Pro, in what is either a lame attempt at a joke or a horribly embarrassing editing mistake that they left in the movie. The reel shows the origins of the secret sauce and how it's connected to this one ship that crashed after hitting an iceberg, which then prompts SpongeBob and Patrick to start discussing the Titanic. Come on, guys, it's bad enough the Titanic is featured in 3 bad animated movies and a terrible TV series. Don't even bring the Titanic into your crappy movie now. The footage then turns to an elder in Mr. Krabs' family who tells them that if they're looking for the secret sauce, they need to meet up with that one guy from the bargain mart who's now located in Tehran, Iran. The crew hop a flight and land quite easily. They hitch a cab ride, and then what happens next is a solid 6 minutes of our gaggle of heroes stuck in traffic. There aren't any jokes or any quick-witted dialogue like you'd expect from SpongeBob, even in the subtitles. It's just people making boring conversation while stuck in traffic. Sprinkled in between all of this is Plankton trying to sneak into the Krusty Krab while everyone else is away. First time we see Plankton in this movie, it's more stolen footage until he too is turned into an awful CGI model. He makes his way into the safe and discovers a letter saying that the secret sauce is missing and that SpongeBob and friends went off to Iran to retrieve it, prompting Plankton to use his own plane to fly there and attempt to get the sauce before they do. Back with these guys, they then begin their big pursuit of the bargain mart guy, and I'm not playing around here. We then get 20 minutes out of a 40-minute movie of the following. SpongeBob and crew ask restaurant employees if they've seen the guy, they say they haven't, and then they eat some of their food. Including another stolen asset with that big breakfast that SpongeBob made for Squidward in Can You Spare a Dime? I didn't know that counted as Iranian food, but alright then. If this was meant to be educational as a way to show off different cuisines that are unique to Iran, that's all fine and good, but make this kind of thing into a montage, not half of the damn movie. Though I actually think I know the reason for this. You see, remember earlier in the review when I said this was originally aired on television? The movie seems to be broken up into 4 different sections, as if these are 4 episodes they strung together to make a full-length TV movie. I guess. It's the closest thing to a conclusion I could fathom that didn't make my brain melt. Alright, let's wrap this up. We're almost done. As the guys finally get a chance to sit down, Patrick calls up a detective who can help them find the secret sauce man.
این دیگه کیه؟ و اضافه میکنم که من متخصص پیدا کردن افراد از روی عکس هستم.
Okay, wait. What was that one thing I said when I did the video for Sponge on the Run? Apparently one of the alternate scripts they had was about these, like, cat alien creatures coming down and attacking Bikini Bottom. I'm very curious what that would have looked like. Yeah, that. I take that back now, because, oh my god, that is the most terrifying thing in the movie. Spongy Boy, Rick Pat, Squishward, and the Catman do hop a bus, as we then waste 5 more minutes on Catman answering his phone and talking to his family. Was this just the voice actor answering his phone in the recording booth and they just animated around it or something? This is the laziest form of padding I've ever seen in a movie. And why are almost all the fish on this bus the same shade of blue? I'm blue, well, it's because they're all painted up for a football game, or as we call it here in the States, a soccer game, because apparently the secret sauce guy might be at the game. Oh, whoa, hold on, I'm sorry. What just happened? The sports commentator was just blown up by an RPG, and the detective cat guy just plays it off like nothing. Hell, in the subtitles, SpongeBob even asks if the guy died. But oh, here's the ultimate kick in the sponge knob. The detective says he found the guy, and he gave him the secret sauce, off-screen, and they can go home. Yes, the main conflict resolution, and we didn't even get to see it. Freaking genius. And we end the movie with Mr. Krabs selling merchandise in the stands to make a quick buck, and Plankton gets crushed by a soccer ball. Who cares? So, that was... I don't even know what the hell that was. I mean, do I even need to point out what made this bad? The animation sucks. The voice acting sucks. The fact they straight up use stolen footage sucks. The pacing sucks. And of course, the writing sucks. Even for a short movie clocking in at around 40 minutes, it comes off as bloated and boring for long stretches of time and then cops out with that rushed ending. The first 15 minutes, while crap like the rest of the movie, at least felt like a story. But once the characters get to Iran, things come to an immediate halt. That said though, it does border on so bad it's funny. Seriously, if you want to find a subtitled version of this movie on YouTube and laugh at some horribly paced bad animation with some really out there stuff in it, then check out this movie if you can find it. Apparently this is actually the first of a trilogy of movies, and out of curiosity I skimmed through the other ones just to see what they were like. The second one is all done with 2D flash animation, which looks slightly better than this one did. The story involves SpongeBob and Patrick having to flee the Bikini Bottom to live in Iran, complete with a bunch of forced musical interludes and even more Iranian food tutorials. Also, the movie ends with Patrick having sex with a woman who's tied to the mafia. I am not kidding, this actually happens. And the third one has probably the best animation out of all of them, but that's not saying anything. I mean, the characters look more like bad parodies of SpongeBob characters more than the other ones, which just straight up ripped off the designs. The plot of this one is they have to rescue some other animated animal characters, some of which look like they were just copied straight from Disney movies or something. And the thing is, when they travel around the world, Tehran is barely featured in it at all, so it kind of feels like the black sheep of the series, if you will. Oh, and there's also this other Iranian SpongeBob bootleg movie that's not even from the same people that did these ones. No, this time they just have a bunch of people running around in SpongeBob character costumes, and they're trying to seek revenge on these people who work in an Iranian tuna plant, and they do this by tying them up and holding them at gunpoint. Admittedly, they use a water gun, but my point still stands. Now, like I said, I skimmed through some of these movies, and I probably won't be reviewing them, mainly because, well, they're not subtitled, and I feel like one of these is enough for me. If you want to see some pretty funny reviews of these movies, then I highly recommend checking out either Salty Dick Dan or Connor the Waffles videos on these movies, because, let me tell you, they're freaking troopers for getting through these things. We're going to be looking at for the next video, but hopefully it's not SpongeBob related, because after this, I feel like I need another little break from SpongeBob before we do another one of these. Until then, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
We're in trouble, Mr. Krabs.
What? We're in trouble? Are we under attack? Activate self-defense system.